How do I develop self-respect and discipline? I love that this question combines self-respect and self-discipline, because truly they go hand in hand. People don't get this at first, but they're connected. The more you practice self-discipline, the more you gain control over your life, and the more you respect your life choices. To sum it up, you begin to feel smarter about the way you live your life. Before moving on, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. So now the question is, how exactly do you develop it? I can share my personal experience on what has worked for me, and maybe you can find an idea or two here that will be helpful to you. Discipline tip number 1. Today, make a decision that you will take ownership of your day. To be clear, making a decision isn't about mumbling a few words to yourself. It's not abstract, and it's not vague. In fact, it's more about training your brain to get focused on what it needs to do as soon as you wake up. Here's how I practice it. I start my day with this question: what is the one thing I am committed to completing today? This technique gets my brain to start evaluating the goals that are important to me right now and forces me to prioritize one goal that needs attention immediately. In addition, I give myself the time to think about what's important in my life, instead of letting people or situations dictate what I should or shouldn't be doing. How can you do this? Put it in writing. Write it in big bold letters on a sheet of paper and hang it on your bedroom or bathroom wall. Read it out loud as you start your day. For example, as you're brushing your teeth or getting dressed. Come up with an answer on the spot and answer it out loud. Then follow up by taking action. Focus your energy throughout the day to completing your one thing. Discipline tip number 2. Instead of ignoring your willpower, maximize it. When you wake up to begin the day, it's common to feel overwhelmed because there are so many things you need to do, from small routine tasks to working on large projects towards bigger goals, both professional and personal. Your first response might be to delay doing anything, because it's hard to decide what to do and in what order, which translates into a bad habit of procrastinating. That's a self-imposed obstacle. Why? Because we all have a finite amount of willpower that takes us through the day. And that willpower gets weaker and weaker as the day progresses. So if you think you'll do your homework after dinner, think again. Chances are you'll put it off and turn on the TV instead. How can you do this? Practicing self-discipline means that if you want to focus on priorities, you should work on them early. As early in the day as possible. In fact, I start right after my breakfast. Do that task that you've been putting off all week before lunchtime. Write up a plan for the school or work week ahead of time. Finish up doing homework or reviewing your exam questions that you've been procrastinating on for days because you'd rather do something more fun. The benefit? You gain a sense of accomplishment early that will make you feel better about the whole day. Discipline tip number 3. Practice one positive habit and keep it simple. Okay, so you've figured out that there's something in your life you'd like to change because you don't like what you're currently doing, or not doing. It can be a fitness goal, to start working out again after a 3-month break, a health benefit, to stop eating large dinners, or better manage your time, to get more sleep instead of watching Netflix until 2 a.m. All those new habits you want to acquire will need self-discipline, time, and repetition. If this sounds unappealing, it's because you make it sound that way. You feel like you have to be doing something difficult when you'd rather be relaxing. How can you do this? First, stop telling yourself that keeping a life-changing habit is a way to punish yourself. That's the wrong attitude to have for anything in your life. If you keep thinking this way, you might give up on many things that can make a huge difference for you. Instead, think of a new habit as a choice that you make in order to become a better version of yourself. And next, make the change as easy as possible by starting with tiny steps. Instead of saying I have to work out 2 hours each evening, I do a mini workout at home for 20 minutes. Or, I go to bed 15 minutes earlier and read so I can fall asleep faster. Discipline tip number 4. Learn how to discipline your busy thoughts. When I was in my teens, I first started noticing thousands of thoughts bouncing around in my mind. The more I read books, absorb new information from classes in school, talked to my friends, the more confusing everything seemed. I started to awfulize about so many things. I thought it's just me. Surely nobody else thought this way. And then as I grew up I realized that it's not just me, it's all of us. The older we get, the more cognitive input we have, and we often struggle to categorize this input. What's relevant to our life and what isn't? Which problem do I need to solve? Is this something I can control, or can I let it go? How can you do this? First, it's important to be aware that if you feel overwhelmed, have negative or self-critical thoughts, or find yourself ruminating on past events and personal failures, you are not alone. Remember, even though you may think it, you are not your thoughts. You are much bigger than your thoughts. And second, start considering a few habits to rein in those thoughts and categorize them as either relevant or just dramatic. You can start with a 10-minute meditation to calm your thoughts and even slow down the chaos. Or, you can just sit in a comfortable armchair for 30 minutes listening to good music and literally doing nothing else. Discipline tip number 5. Say no to distractions to improve focus. If you think that all the gadgets we have at our disposal today are to blame for getting distracted easily, think again. Even the Roman Stoic philosopher Seneca wrote about this in his book on the shortness of life. Distractions and pointless activities were very much a challenge for people in ancient Rome. For example, Seneca describes people's struggles with gluttony, vanity, focusing on materialistic things, and always trying to impress others. Sound familiar? Maybe today we don't host lavish banquets to impress guests with an endless feast of food and wine, but we do observe the images of surreal lifestyles on Facebook or Instagram. And that often leads to feelings of dissatisfaction, envy, and self-criticism. How can you do this? If you regularly check Instagram, Facebook, or other social media, make sure you take everything you see and hear with a grain of salt. Chances are those pictures and updates are not a real representation of everyday life, but rather a tactic someone is using to sell a product, service, or brand. Next, don't waste time on distractions if they don't serve the purpose of adding value to your life. Set your phone to airplane mode when you need to focus. Let people know you won't be available for a chat until you get important tasks done. Check email and social media apps in the afternoons and evening. Close all tabs in your browser that may be tempting you to unfocus from your top priorities for that day. Thanks for watching my video.